for the Buffalo Bills in 2022, they were one of the two overwhelming preseason favorites to make the Super Bowl in 2022. And with a lot of good reason. Obviously, you had a quarterback in Josh Allen and a high-powered offense that included the likes of Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and Dawson Knox at tight end, and a pretty solid offensive line, and a defense, that can play well in the secondary. They're just missing a strong pass rush that cost them the AFC divisional game in that thriller in 2021. So now they address that in getting Von Miller in the pass rush. So you had a strong pass rush, finally supplementing Josh Allen's powerful offense. And the Bills, midway through the season, they finally looked poised to reaching that goal in spite of some issues with the offense. But the season derailed for a variety of reasons, but none of them affected more than the emotional impact that the game in Cincinnati in Week 17 had. The whole Damar Hamlin situation, him collapsing on the field with the heart attack and all that. It's just, good God's grace that Damar Hamlin is alive and well and doing nice things in training camp, by the way. But at the time, though, it really had an emotional impact and a mental one at that. The Bills were really checked out by that point. They couldn't really overcome that toll of that moment. Sure, they won the AFC East that year again. They outlasted the Dolphins in the wild card, but it was clear that when they got their butt whooped by the Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional game, it's clear that they couldn't really execute anything all that well. They made a lot of mistakes in that game against Cincinnati, and it's clear that they were just emotionally checked out of that season. Like as much as they wanted to go the distance in support of their teammate, it's just like they were just too overcome with it. They were just really overcome with all that emotion. So for the Buffalo Bills, you're really hoping that you want to accomplish the goal that you couldn't in 2022, and that's finally reach the Super Bowl and hopefully win it. So to do that, some of my team needs for the Buffalo Bills back in March when I talked about them is you got to continue to address the interior offensive line because it was kind of an issue, especially considering the additions that they have were pretty much older veteran offensive linemen. So they had to get a little bit younger at that spot. Whether if it was a little bit older, potentially maybe some good ones. They also had to find another receiver too, opposite Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. Gabriel Davis, by the way, he was coming off a down year, a disappointing one. So yeah, that's why they really need some help for Stephon Diggs, who, by the way, was pretty pissed off in that last divisional game and kind of had a standoffish during the offseason with the Bills in light of that. So kind of interesting there, but it seemed like cooler heads prevailed in the last couple months. And then you had to find a certain replacement in the draft at linebacker because, well, we'll get into that just right now. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, a key part of that defense, went to the Chicago Bears in free agency. So you lost one of your key linebackers in free agency. So you had to go find his replacement in the draft because, the Bills don't really have a lot of money to spend. They also lost one of their solid backup receivers. They released Isaiah McKenzie, and he later signed with the Indianapolis Colts. And one of their running backs, Devin Singletary, went to the Houston Texans. I mean, it's okay. They have James Cook, Dalvin Cook's brother. Maybe they want to consider signing his brother, Dalvin Cook. I don't know. They re-signed safety Jordan Poyer, offensive lineman David Questenberry, so a solid part of that offensive line, and edge rusher Shaq Lawson. So two key parts of that defense is going to be there for the long run. Looking at some of their free agent offensive and defensive additions, it was actually a lot at solid deals. Safety Taylor Rapp and linebacker Leonard Floyd from the LA Rams, so bolstering up part of that defense and hopefully some help for Von Miller. Guard David Andrews from the LA Rams as well, and Connor McGovern. Why did I put Connor McGovern from the maybe there's two Connor McGoverns. I don't know. Guard Connor McGovern from the Dallas Cowboys. So beefing up that interior offensive line. They also got a swing tackle, Brandon Snell, from the Miami Dolphins. Backup running back, Damian Harris from the New England Patriots. He's kind of had trouble staying healthy, so I can't really see him being a viable replacement for Devin Singletary. But either way, looking at their draft picks, they got a tight end by the name of Dalton Kincaid from Utah. So that should be interesting. He looks like a pretty good player, and they can utilize the 2 tight end set. I trust them to do that pretty well, especially considering you have two solid tight ends in Dawson Knox, and now you have Dalton Kincaid coming over from Utah. Maybe that's the receiving help that they need for Josh Allen. You go alongside Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Gabriel Davis. Now you have Dalton Kincaid to run that 2 tight end set as much as possible. They continue to address the offensive line by getting guard Osiris Torrance from Florida, receiver Justin Shorter from Florida as well. So gain more help for Josh Allen at the receiver position. And then a swing offensive lineman, Nick Broker from Ole Miss. So overall, looking at the Bills offseason, they did, I'd say, pretty solid, if not very solid, to strengthen the depth of their offensive line. Because, looking last year and where they struggled, I can blame a lot of how at times Josh Allen played poorly because, he was like running a lot again. And then he was just yeeting the ball like into unforced into defenders. Like, what are you doing, dude? But one of the large reasons why that is that, well, his protection up front was kind of bad in 2022. The interior was not great because, well, they were older, like such as Roger Saffold. He was on the older side. So it's smart of Buffalo to invest in 2 guards and draft another to beef up the interior. Whether they make the team is another story. So speaking of the current team members, like Spencer Brown and center Mitch Morse, they kind of had down years last year, but let's see if they bounce back this year. Going on the other side, we still don't know if Von Miller is going to be ready for the season because he's still recovering from the torn ACL, and people are saying that he might not be ready to go for the start of the season. So if that's the case, then the Bills could face some issues. Now, sure, they got Leonard Floyd, who could possibly help out, but I don't think that's going to be enough. They really are going to need Gregory Rousseau and Shaq Lawson to step up in the interior again, or if they may move them to the outside. I don't know. Again, I'm just a casual. But otherwise, that interior, Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, they always find a way to get to the quarterback on the interior. But if neither the interior or the edge can get to the quarterback, then it's going to be a problem like it was late in the season back in 2021. They're going to have trouble getting to the quarterback, and it's going to make life for the secondary even harder. So if Von Miller's not there to start the season, or if he is there, but he's not back to full strength, this can cause issues. This can cause issues for the Buffalo Bills early in the season. Speaking of early in the season for the Bills, they got some couple games that they really want to keep an eye out for. You travel to New York to take on the Jets in the very first game of the season on a Monday night in prime time, playing against Aaron Rodgers in his first game as a New York Jet. Maybe you want to spoil the party of sorts. And then week 4, you host the Miami Dolphins in a rematch of that wild card game. So a couple of early division games for the Bills, including week 7 in Foxborough against the New England Patriots. So for the Bills, if you want to increase your chances of a division lead, this is your opportunity to go up 3-0 halfway into the season. And then a couple of big games late in the season to potentially up your lead or try to gain an advantage on the number 1 seed. You go to Cincinnati to take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And then week 12, potentially a Super Bowl preview. I don't know. Jalen Hurts at the Philadelphia Eagles. You go to Philadelphia there. And then week 14, after your bye week, you play Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in Kansas City. So a lot of tough games for the Buffalo Bills, but They've been in this situation before. So a lot of questions surrounding the defense, considering that, you lost Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, and then you have questions surrounding potentially the early absence of Von Miller. So they're going to have to address those questions in the coming weeks when they have their first their 3 preseason games. And on the offensive side, are they going to be able to put less pressure on Josh Allen? And the third reason why Allen's play was kind of poor at times was because, again, they put so much pressure on him to do well, including having him run so much, having him make all these spectacular throws. It's because of the integration of the new offensive coordinator. You're going from Brian Daboll, who went to the New York Giants, and then you brought in Ken Dorsey as the new offensive coordinator. And the play calling really was too over-reliant on Allen's own athletic capabilities, rather than trying to balance out his capabilities and the team's. What were the team's biggest strengths? What about Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox? Why weren't they playing up to their strengths? So hopefully in year 2, they'll have that balancing act, while still being able to showcase just how damn good Josh Allen is. So, looking at their season outlook, the Bills still have a top 10 roster in the NFL, led by one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league. You still have Mahomes, you still have Burrow, you still have Josh Allen. The only thing is, both he and the team need to stop putting so much damn pressure on themselves. You gotta stop being try-hardish. They have some difficult opponents on the docket besides their own division, like the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bengals. You have a couple of appetizers there here and there. But if they can put a team effort together to beat them all, they should definitely be looked at as a very strong Super Bowl contender again. So as long as they can find that balancing act on offense and don't be so try-hardish, don't try to force yourself into unnecessary situations. The Bills will not only win the division again, but they should find themselves where they should have been last year, and that is the Super Bowl.